Ma'am, regarding history of India.
Not regarding history of Assam, but I have posted some videos. So I'm asking if you have gone through those videos. No? Okay. So hopefully you might not have any queries. Okay then. Let me remove this. Okay. Okay then. So today there is a reason, as I have told you, that there is a reason why I have called you on Saturday. The thing is that I need to discuss about the assignment, as I will not be taking any class in the next week, and I'll be busy checking answer script of 2 batches, and also I might leave for 2-3 days. Hence, it is important to have a deliberation on the assignment for the paper Northeast India. So the kind of assignment which you would like to do for third term test, because by the time we will finish the second test can be scheduled anywhere in the first week of January or maybe third week of January. But we also need to finish the third test, which will be an assignment. This might be a written assignment, so you need to tell me the kind of assignment you will prefer. If you say that you will come up with a presentation, then I'll go for presentations. I will give you some topic for presentations. If you say that you will go for written assignment, then I will accordingly work on some topics, and I'll distribute those topics in the group, and accordingly you can also choose. Okay, so that you need to let me know. You need to decide it unanimously, and it should not be a decision from 1 person or 2 person. So you need to decide it along each and everyone, and then you let me know what kind of assignment would you prefer. Okay.
Ma'am, it can be an individual assignment or is it like a group assignment?
It will be an individual assignment. Okay, but if you go for presentations, it might be a group presentation also, because if you go by individual presentation, it will take a lot of time. It will consume a lot of time. So we go by group presentations. If you would like to go for presentations. If you would like to go for written assignment, then it will be an individual assignment. Individually, you need to write an article, or you might say a term paper, that's a smaller version of term paper, so which you need to submit. And for that, you need to concentrate on what I'm going to discuss today. And also on history of Assam, I'll share one material regarding history of Assam. So you can also derive some topics related to Assam history. And today I will discuss with you about environment in Assam, which is important, as well as different developmental practices over the years in the Northeast, not necessarily in Assam, and its impact in the environment. And let me tell you that I have shared 1 or 2 recorded video lectures on development, which can be relatable to what I'm going to discuss with you today. Okay? Yeah. Now, let me tell you that when we talk about this environment, because it is a very wide concept, no? It's a very vast concept, so you cannot simply sum up what the aspects it cover and what to avoid. And when you're talking about environment, definitely we also try to relate it with this development, right? So by the term environment, so we simply know that it is it consists of land, water, air, and living organism. And then external environment, a kind of external, you see, atmosphere, which usually affects our lifestyle. It affects the living organism, right? And it is often equated with the nature also, as you see. But environment is not something which is nature, because there might be natural environment, there might be built environment, right? And at the same time, it is also a kind of uh, you say, which is relatable to nature, is collective, in collective sense, and environment is something which may be a home for, you say, it is human species, different animals, as well as living organism. In that way also we can interpret. But there are also, you say, different kind and varieties of environment, like man-made environment and social, geographical, even technical environment. So we cannot simply term it. So why I'm starting with environment is that before we discuss about different aspect of development in Northeast, it is important to have some understanding about environment. Okay, and when we talk about the linkages between environment and development. If we have to link environment with development, we say that economic development and growth has a cumulative effect on environment, as you could actually see that growth has put a pressure on environment, whatever growth factors. There is also you say growth in terms of industrializations and development in terms of urbanizations, which has already put a pressure on the natural environment in terms of our need for timber and fuel wood, and more and more industrialization, more and more factories. And we are also gradually moving from traditional, lifestyle and traditional to modern lifestyle. And this movement has also culminated to further economic development, and there is also expansion of industrialization and urbanizations, and there is also a need for, you say, better road, better railways, and more factories, stockpiling of, you see, nuclear weapon, development of plants, that coal mines, and also different factories, different industries. So which has actually weakened the human link to nature. Okay, and hence it is quite important in order to understand what is happening in the society. It is quite important to understand environment in which we are living, in order to understand what is happening in the society in the name of development. Because if you look at certain, you see, certain aspect of development, like we see that there is a development induced displacement, you see, and this is also another is a tragedy of development, and it has created a burden on this environment also. Okay, so there are different cases, and we can different cases of environment. And when you say environment, if you look at those cases and different aspect of environment, then we also see that there are aspect related to pollution, right? There are also aspect related to you see forest or biodiversity, and there are aspects related to flood, and there are aspects related to dam. So if you would like to write stories, you can better work on this aspect. You can even extract out, you can frame innumerable number of stories. Okay, but as you are not that much into writing, first you will simply practice writing on environment. So you will also show me that write-up. If I can check, I can also uh, give it back to you, and I can again, tell you what to cover, what not to cover. So you can choose stories from this aspect of environment, like you see, related to air pollution, that is a noise pollution. So what are the causes of noise pollutions, and how will you not have to define what is, you will not have to define what is noise pollution, but some stories you can come across regarding noise pollution, stories on air pollution, as and also different acts which will encompass uh, mitigating this air pollution and also water pollution in India. And in terms of Northeast also, we see the act of State Pollution Control Board in terms of mitigating this air pollution. So that might be one aspect. Now, let me tell you that when you talk about those different aspects, first aspect which came to our mind is deforest, right? And deforestations, which we often see. This is quite relevant now, and it is started in 19th century. First it is started in western and southern part. Deforestation started in western and southern part of India, and gradually it is moved to eastern part and northern part. And there are different factors which are responsible for this deforestations, and one is flood. Even that is also responsible for deforestations. You also see that there is also mismatch of demand and supply. There is cutting of trees, felling of trees, and there is also biotic pressure, and because of conversion of forest land to even non-forest activities like construction of factories and plants, power plants, coal plants. That has also led to deforestation. So it happens to be a major cause of concern when we discuss about environmental issues in Northeast. And when you talk about the flood, I'll simply discuss about the flood, which has been also it is resulted out of deforestations, and it is also intrinsically related. When we discuss about this factor, it is intrinsically related to the livelihood of the people of Northeast. When we discuss about the trend of flood, first it came in one stage, and later the whole trend of flood has been changed. So we usually see the appearance of flood in 2 stages or 3 stages. Even now it is up to 4 stages also, and it has actually changed the whole vegetation, whole agriculture related activities. So it is also linked to, you see, it is linked to our human relation to nature. So you see that till 1970s, we usually experience flood in Assam. In one stage, we experience flood during July, in the month of July, and gradually you see the pattern of flood has also changed. As we experience flood in July, so we usually grow the crop, that is the first crop of paddy, in May to June. And what happened by July, we experience flood came, flood usually wash away the planted crop, and some paddy survives, and this flood actually brings some silt, and this silt works as a nutrients for the soil, and this survived paddy along with this wash away that not survived paddy along with that silt, it usually it actually again it is meant for further cultivations. As you can see, it is also replanted, and farmer also make plantation along with the survived this plant survived paddy, as well as you say silt, and then it has helped in growing the crops. So are you getting? So now what happened? We experience flood in two stages or three stages. Earlier we experienced in one stage, and flood also last till September and to October, and that actually made the whole land or paddy field, or you see this fertile land non-cultivable or infertile, just because earlier that flood brought that silt, and now there are frequent flood, and flood usually last to October, 2 3 months, and that has only left the sand element, and sand cannot work as a nutrient, and hence you actually see these people who are dependent on agriculture, they are lived into penury situations and utter improvisement. There is no second crop also to grow. Most of the time they have to survive on seeds also. They consume seeds at times. So that was the conditions, and because of the change of this pattern of flood and this trend of flood, so that flood we have experienced 2 3 stages, and that happened since 1990s. So till 1970s we experienced flood in one stage, and based on that our agricultural ecology was based. And you see Bihu we celebrate in the month of January, just because first crop is grown during this May to June, and then flood came in July. It was away the planted crop. Some crop survives, and flood also brought that silt, and that silt work as a nutrients. Again, farmer that replanted some crop, and those replanted crops and survived crops grow together, and that is harvested during December, and by January we usually uh, we celebrate this festival called Bihu. So that has actually, you see now, due to global warming also, it has actually changed the whole pattern of flood. So that is also related to you see, the livelihood, loss of livelihood of people. So when we are talking about this flood, actually there is no uh, primary cause. We cannot even able to take any long-term measures. Government failed to take any long-term measures to prevent flood, right? It's because of the you see high seismic belt of river, and also because of you see some geological factors, and it is very difficult to even have a proper solution to flood problem in Assam. And it is also lead to displacement. When we're talking about development induced displacement, as I have mentioned in the first class, development induced displacement in Assam, and development induced displacement is basically process induced displacement, so which is quite apparent in Assam. Process induced displaced people, and there are internally displaced people. Internally displaced people are basically displaced due to flood, due to due to poor climatic condition, due to soil erosion, due to deforestations, and due to contamination of the soil, as I have told you. So due to conflict, there are number of internally displaced person. There are many cases of internally displaced people in Northeast, and it has nothing to do with that cross-border displacement, and cross-border displacement is called as refugees, but it has nothing to do with cross-border displacement. So victim of conflict, there are many conflict, Bodo Central conflict, and you look at this Kuki and this there are conflict between other tribes. So then also that also resulted displacement, internal displacement. And numerous conflict has resulted in internal displacement, and this is also tragedy of development, you see. And I have discussed about development in one uh, uh, that live class which I have shared with you. So you will get to find what is development, but so I'm not going to discuss about what is development by jump. So I'm discussing about some factors which may help you to identify problems, and you may work on this. You may develop some team to write. Okay, and hence I'm discussing this aspect. Okay, and then you see that regarding this livelihood. Okay, when you are talking about different environmental factors, we often say that shifting cultivation is one, which is also the cause of a depletion of environment, right? Shifting cultivations. So when is a shifting cultivation? We see that this June cultivation. So usually in Brahmaputra Valley is highly fertile valley, alluvial land, highly fertile valley, and it is suitable for settled cultivation. So in entire northeast, we usually have settled cultivations, we have shifting cultivations, we have also June cultivation, shifting or June cultivation, which is similar, and we have terrace cultivation, and there is also another cultivation that is called tree-based cultivations. Okay, so in the Brahmaputra Valley, we usually have this cultivation called subtle cultivations, and in subtle cultivation, any crop you can grow. So it can meet any crop because rice is the staple food, and rice is the main crop which is grown. Along with rice, you also have, like, other second crop like pulses, sugarcane, which can be grown, and for that we need dry land and marshy land. Okay, so we have three kind of rice like ahu, then we have boro, then hali. So at different period it is also planted and harvested, and that earlier depend on the pattern of plant, then in which stage it will come. Now you see it has also it has changed, that most of the time as pattern of plant has been changed, it affects the production of rice and production of other crop. And second crop, even pulses can also be grown along with rice, and in settled cultivations in the Brahmaputra Valley. And shifting cultivations, and when you say June cultivation, basically this is carried out by, you say, the tribal people and people inhabited in the hill regions. So it is also known as slash and burn cultivations, and we see that in June cultivation a particular plot is being selected, right? And that is particular plot and forest land is being selected, and that is then trees are edged down, and then it was made dried, and then this dried vegetation was burned, then converted to ashes, then along with ashes, because along with ashes that crop or seed grown, and this ashes will work as a nutrient. Okay, so for a few years, 2 to 3 years, they usually those you see people, basically the hilly people who are into June, they usually use that land, and thereafter till the fertility of that land lasts, and thereafter they move to another place, and they abandon that land and allow them to regenerate, and then it is called a fallow, and the whole cycle is called fallow cycle, and they move to another plot of land, and then again that is being trees are axed and then burned down and converted to ashes, and then, like, crop is grown, and different crop can be grown without using any heavy fertilizers, without using any animal power, take any animal power. So different kind of crops could be grown, and that could actually feed the entire village. So that's why they move from one plot of land to another plot of land, and that rotation of land is the characteristics of Jhum cultivation. In contrast to, you see, rotation of crop in settle cultivations, different kind of crop is can be planted at different period of time. But here land is rotated, and once it is cultivated for 2-3 years, once land is used for 2-3 years, it usually loses the fertility value, and that also made this tribe move to another plot of land until that land will regenerate, and land will you say get uh, regenerate, and you get this fertility. So it is earlier it is viewed as a kind of very primitive and unscientific technique. Even Food and Agricultural Organization in 1957, they came up with a report that it is a kind of serious land use problem. So that Jhum cultivations or sifting cultivation, it is a serious kind of land use problem, and it has to be eliminated. And different policies came up during colonial period, also in post-colonial period, to eliminate this kind of cultivations. But again, it is also recognized nowadays. Even NITI Aayog has also uh, came up with notifications that it can be a very you say um, useful source of livelihood. As it is a useful source of livelihood, it also become a source of security, food security, and hence we cannot simply abandon this kind of activities, or uh, it is eliminate this kind of cultivation technique. And you also see that when you discuss about this kind of cultivations, first we have the subtle, then we have Jhum cultivations, then we also have the terrace cultivations. And most of the Angami communities in Nagaland, they are into this terrace cultivations. So you see that different kind of crop they usually grow in in this steep hill slope, and this hill that is a hill slopes are usually held by stone wall, and you see this is quite unique. And you see Aunaga, there is also one community, Aunaga community, Au community of Nagaland. They prefer to go for that vegetative plant, vegetative plant along the, you see, along the contour of land in during Jhum cultivations, to reduce the soil erosions, and to reduce the water logging, so that water can also run off. And so it can also regenerate the soil easily. So terrace cultivation is one which is also practiced by various uh, hilly tribes, as well as we also have that you see this tree cultivations. So when crop is grown along with trees, and it is such that they try to, you see, optimize the production of fruit of the trees as well as crop. And here this tree will work as a nutrient for the soil, and you also see it is also practiced by communities in Meghalaya. In Meghalaya, more than 83% communities are based on agriculture, and agriculture is the primary source of livelihood, and they are into tree based cultivation, and crops crop also grows along with the trees. Okay, so it actually shows that, and trees, when they select the trees, they also choose those trees which are ecologically significant, which are culturally significant, you see, and ecologically, culturally valued. And it shows that that Hili tribes has an intrinsic relation with nature, and that relation with nature uh, is inseparable, and it determines their identity. It also offers them livelihood. It also determines their culture, um, and from that we get to have a different aspect related to dam. Although it is said that dam happened to be, construction of dam happened to be a symbol of development, as it also evoked numerous, you see, activism, numerous uh, movement, environment movement across different part of countries. In Assam, it is relatively new. When we are talking about this environmental movement in Assam, it is relatively new in Assam. Okay, so that is one thing, and we also see that the kind of livelihood which these tribal communities of Assam have, it indicates, it reflects that they value, they accord high value to the self-help and simple technology and self-reliance. So they got high value on self-sufficiency. So by using simple technology and with self-help mechanism, they usually make a proper utilization of the resources and judiciously utilize whatever resources is available within their boundary. And even when we talk about people from Brahmaputra Valley, they are also engaged in, you see, in Brahmaputra, in Barak Valley, even in tribal communities. Many people are engaged in weaving, and it is right from, you see, growing of that what growing of cotton, then spinning, then weaving, dyeing, so everything they do themselves. So it actually reflects self-sufficiency. So in that way, we see that when we are talking about any kind of developmental activities in Assam, it is intrinsically related to environment, and environment is something which is further related to the tribal communities in Northeast. Environment, that nature is intrinsically related to tribal communities in Northeast. And in the very beginning, I have told you that when you say environment, we often try to equate it with nature, but nature is a collective noun. You also say it can be used in collective sense, and an environment is narrowed down. The concept is much more narrowed down. It is something which is relatable to growth and development, economic growth, economic development. Okay, and then we see that when we are talking about forest now, so we are starting. We started with forest, right? So when you're talking about the forest, and there are also different kind of acts or forest administration came at different period of time. So basically, forest can be classified into protected areas, and then there are also something is called national areas, and then it is called as village areas, and there are also tree-based areas. So there are protected forest, then we have national forest, then we have village forest and tree-based forest. So this kind of classification is usually made, and that is in favor of, you see, extracting resources. This kind of classification has been made by British, and it is in their favor, in their interest, in order to extract resources from the forest, you know, because that they have seen that it is forest is something which is intrinsically linked to the livelihood system of the like tribal people and hilly community, and they also came up with a policy and tried to weaken human linkages with nature by um, having ownership of forest and create some protected areas and also natural areas. So you see, when you look at this division, when you're talking about protected areas, these are basically reserve areas. Reserve areas are meant to exist for maintaining the physical conditions uh, um, of that you see vegetations or of that forest, and we also have that national forest, which are basically meant to serve the demand of those industries, factories, plants uh, of the nation. And we have also village forest that actually meets the demand of the villagers, demand of the villagers, like agricultural plants and the fisheries in the forest and for the firewood, etc. And then we also have that called this is called tree-based forest, which is also is maintained along with that physical habitat of forest. So we have different kind of act. We have Forest Act that came in 1927, and then we have another act, National Forest Policy, that came up in it is not an act, that forest policy came up in 1952, and that has made the village forest subservient to national forest. Means village forest, the need of the villagers, the need basically of the tribals of the forest, the tribal people of the forest, because they own the village and their livelihood system is based on the forest. So their need is made subservient to the national interest, you see. Okay. So that is one aspect, and we also see that in forest we usually have see it happens to be a very rich source of flora and fauna, and in Assam we have more than 8,000 species of, you see, plant in forest, and at the same time we have also 15,000 some species of varieties of plant, and some ferns are there, different species of ferns, different species of that climbers, and we also have species of more than, you see, 300 species of citrus fruit, citrus plant, and also 600 species of orchids are available. And among those 600 species of orchid, around 61 species of orchid is available in Assam. And also see different varieties of bamboo, around 160, not 61, sorry, 61 species of bamboo is available in Assam, and we have 136 species of bamboo in the entire northeast. So you see, when you talk about the forest, forest area constitutes 748 million hectare across the India, and northeast belt contribute to 12 point something million hectare of forest, and that constitute 1.63%, I guess. And Assam contribution to total forest area is 23%, some decibel. And then we see that and this is also, forest happen to be the habitat of a different primate, okay, and different birds, and based on that we also have various demand raised by organization. You see, there are organizations like Nature's Beacon and Aranyak. We have organizations like Nature's. This is a Banyapran, I guess. Yeah, Banyapran. Um, and there are also many other organizations, NGOs are there working on environment, and basically they have that run this flag of environmental activism, and they are working uh, to declare a forest hill reserve or a forest reserve, a protected area, and also pressurizing government to declare it wildlife sanctuary. They are also working on preservation of the biodiversity, working on the preservation of the soil, preservation of various flora and fauna. As you see, the case of Joy Behan Sanctuary. So that case has been adopted by Nature's Beacon, which happened to be one organization that was registered NGO, registered in 1991, I guess. So that Joy Behan area that comprised Jaipur Reserve, then Upper Dihin and Dirak Reserve areas. So that actually that comprise more than 8,000 square kilometer patch of land, and they are also this NGO is demanded, Nature Beacon is demanding to make it, they announce it as a Joy Dihin, like wildlife sanctuaries, and it actually it harbor around 300 species of bird. So this is the home to this sanctuary. A sanctuary is Joy Dihin Sanctuary is home to 300, more than 300 species of bird, and among those 300 species we have that white, you see, white winged duck, then we have that hornbill, and we have gray peacock, and also we have Eurasian eagle, then we have that owl. See, so there are different species of bird, and it is also declared as an IBA. This is called Important Bird Area. Okay, and Nature's Beacon, which was the NGO, along with, you see, IBSN group was this, and I think Bombay Natural History Society, and along with Bombay Natural History Society carried out bird survey, and found that there are this many species of birds available, and also that area is the, you say, very important primate habitat, like Hulog gibbon is one. Hulog gibbon is usually found in rainforest. So Joy Dihin is basically rainforest, and Nature's Beacon, that organization, is working on the rainforest conservation. Okay, and their banner on which they are shouting actually is a rainforest conservation, and they have been carrying out various activities, like they have carried out festivals, and also in order to promote this tourism, as well as create a network of like-minded NGOs to create a public opinion about this sanctuary, Joy Dihin Sanctuary, in national and international level, and also national international level, and then also they have you see, they have produced a number of all these leaflets and these posters and these booklets and distributed it to create awareness. They also carried out various awareness camp to make people aware, especially the youth of the village, aware about the conservation of rainforest. See, and rainforest is, as I have already told you, it is a primate habitat of primate habitat of different primate. So you see this. We have Hulog gibbon is one, and then we have lories, and We also have the Asiatic buffalo, water buffalo, and Asiatic elephant is there. So they're also they're uh, working on uh, preservation and conservation of uh, that Asiatic elephant and try to mitigate this human-elephant conflict. And this Zoiding, that sanctuary is also called as a corridor of Asiatic elephant. So you see, in that way, Nature's Beacon has been uh, carrying out various kind of activism. So there are also different kinds of activism, which we will discuss later, because this should not be a part of this class, media in Northeast. Uh, um, because this is important, these factors are important. It will help you to understand the environment of Northeast, understand different aspects of development in Northeast and what is happening in Northeast. But we often do not go for a, you see, an approach related to definitional approach of different, like, terminology. But if you want me to define those terminology, if you want me to define the thought, you say philosophical thought related to environment, that I can do. But this is important to know, and from which you can also find out some stories, and you can work on those stories. Okay, and then uh, you see that you have the Dolphin Conservation Society. You know, Dolphin Conservation Society, this is another organization working on conservation of dolphin, and also pressurized government to um, uh, make this surrounding areas of Kulsi River as a dolphin sanctuary, the dolphin sanctuary. Okay, so they have carried out a river dolphin census, and they have found a declining number of dolphin. And apart from this, we also see that that golden langur, that is another, like, endangered species, which are basically found in Vairapsura forest, that reserve forest, and that is a small area. And local people are involved in preservation of that uh, golden langur. So these organizations like Nature's Beacon, and even these organizations like RNNAC, they are trying to involve community in preservation of wildlife, preservation of biodiversity, because it is the community who has a close link to nature, and they do have traditional knowledge regarding uh, 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 this different like an aspect of nature, and they can also help to mitigate various like trauma uh, which experience in terms of declining the number of, like, endangered species. Okay, so this is one thing, and then we see, when we look at this dam aspect, um, uh, before we go to dam aspect, we also look into this mine aspect. Okay, mine and dam. This is two like very important aspect of development, because you see the Assam and even the Northeast is quite rich in mineral resources, right? Yeah. It is also a storehouse of different kind of minerals, like we have coal, then limestones, then we have, you see that sillimanites, and apart from oil, gas. So you see, the British have discovered these factors, and at the same time, you see British when made some prospect in tree plantations, also found this, you say, Makum area, which is rich in coal. So there is Makum coal field, which was also discovered by British, and Makum and adjoining hill areas in Patkai, hill range are rich in coal. So northeastern coal field, when you say northeastern coal field, it actually consists of six working uh, collieries. So we also have you say Borgulai collieries, Lidub collieries. Then we have this called Tirap collieries. Then these are coal mines, Tirap. Then Tikok collieries, and we have that Tipongpani collieries. So there are six coal mines, main coal mines. Among those six, two are like underground. Um, Mines are underground, and into like that might involve the Tirap and Tikok. We actually get to see that open coal cast is happen. So the underground coal mine is to certain extent safe for the human. It won't uh, result much effect on this ecology, but this open cast mine will have a very negative and evil consequence on this whole ecology and this environment, and also human habitat. It affects the health of this habitat. It affects the livestock, affect the human habitat. So and in opposed to mine, there are different kind of activism uh, carried out in the northeast. So in Meghalaya also we get to see that Domia-shaped village, rich in uranium. Okay, and we have that uranium Corporation India Limited, and they first got the permission to drill, even mine uranium, and later on you see that Student Union of Meghalaya, like we have Khasi Student Union, and also other NGOs and welfare organizations, they have pressurized, put a pressure on village headmen to withdraw the permission and also not to allow this companies, national company, to come and extract uranium. And because it will lead to adverse effect on the surrounding areas, so it is adverse effect of mining in this surrounding areas. Okay, so you also see that Domia Shat is a village in Meghalaya, so where which is rich in uranium, and where this kind of activism has been carried out. And you see more than 11 organizations that came under the under one banner to create a dialogue with central government, to come up with a dialogue with central government in order to stop this uranium mining. And they also erected a gate in Domiashat in order to check the illegal, illegal entry of those company people or factory people. Uh, so that kind of activities have been carried out. So I will not go detail about the people's effort against this kind of mining activities. So in Assam, okay, then Domiashat is one, and then Sela also. There are land mine in Sela, in Meghalaya. That is also another site of activism. So there are different sectors of activism. So in one cluster, I cannot even stop telling about those activism. And in Assam, as we have already told you, that there are 6 working mining station, coal mining stations and coal fields that 6 working coal mining station comprise the northeastern coal fields. Okay, and there are also difference between the underground mining and open cast mining. So in Tirap and Tikak, we had that open cast mining, which had culminated adverse effect in the surrounding areas, and that also resulted activism of student, basically, like student science society is involved, and they have created they have mobilized people around, and also pressurized government to stop mining, open cast mining, and also they have got the backing accordingly, government also instituted an inquiry committee to find out the ill effects of those mining activities in that area. And coal is required. Coal is required for even railway workshop. You say coal is required uh, even for even you see local, to meet the local needs of the industry as well as to meet these needs of higher industry, even like industries outside this northeast belt. So it also works as a fossil. It is works as a fuel. So it is a kind of substitute to even this wood fuel. So hence it is required. And when first passenger train was run in Assam, that was in 1884, that Digboy railway workshop first you see that dispatched this coal, and during that time. So there is a significance of coal mining, but you said that open cast coal mining had a very adverse effect on human habitat, and you also see that drainage of water from Lakwa and Galaki. This is called Gaspani. That has also affected, and it actually lead to conflagrations. And that has affected the surrounding villages of Anandpur area. And hence that activism has been carried out to stop this open mining. And you see that when you discuss about, when you look into this activism, different kind of activism, it is not simply related to environment. Let me tell you that it is not simply related to environmental concern. It is also related to, you see, um, related to their livelihood concern, related to their right over the land, right to livelihood. Okay, and also in Tirap, when we discuss about that Tirap coal mine, the activism related to open cast mining, we had seen that we have some kind of people's effort that came up in the form of you see that Patkai Pahar People's Protection Committee is one, and then Lido Sonali Pathar Protection Committee, and then Tirap Autonomous District Council Demand Committee has also set up. And the interest of all these committees and all these organizations, all these collectives are varied, diverse in interest. It is not simply limited to environment concern or environmentalism. It is also related to, they try to relate environment to political autonomy, and try to relate it to right to self-determination. Okay, so hence at times that we can different kind of interest, diverse interest, have weaken the intensity of this movement. Okay, because you see this kind of activities, even new project when government came up, okay, has nurtured a kind of feeling of deprivation among the tribes, and that happened in the Tirap, and they demanded a separate autonomous district that constitute that Buridihing, then Makum, and then surrounding areas, adjacent areas of Margherita, which fall under this Digboy Legislative Assembly. Just because they were threatened by the loss of land, loss of livelihood, because of this encroachment also, and because of the project which government has come up. Already there are non-tribal people, they have already encroached their land. That has also created a kind of the threat risk perception among them, and that's why they have nurtured that deprivation. Out of deprivation, they demand for political autonomy and right to self-determination, which is linked to environmentalism again. So it is not simply with a concern of those different kind of activism that came up at different period of time. That is not simply linked to environmentalism, and at the same time it is also like this concern of various activist group, and most of them are student organization also. ASU is also involved, Yuba Chhatra Parishad is also involved, apart from different tribal organizations involved in different kind of activism. And they did not even demand for, even you see this carrying out of seismic survey, and for, you see, construction of dam. What they want is a better solution to soil erosion and also flood. They want better solution to, like, land reform, and they also want you see they want giving land patta to the cultivating land without patta, and also giving land to landless. And that happened to be the demand of that, like, Krikhak Mukti Sangram Samiti, that also like came up during that period. Then when what that there is another Sangram Samiti on Laika that came up. There are so many like activism stories are there, in Northeast Belt. Although it did not get much attention, the stories did not get, stories of activism didn't get much attention across the nation. You see, and comparatively, we are also late in carrying out this kind of activism in Northeast Belt. Um, so relatively late if we compare to activism related to, like, that big dam on Narmada River, Sardar Sarovar Dam, you say Narmada Bachao, Andolan. So we are a bit late. But you see, there are also different opinions. There are diverse diverse in opinion on the construction of dam, and the opinions are also polarized. And at times you see that government, there is a crisis of confidence in the governments because of the kind of strong reaction from the people against the dam. Okay, so when we're talking about the coal mine and dam, and there are numerous cases. So we have already discussed about this coal mine cases. So there are also numerous dam which have been constructed. So I would try to mention a few dams, not all. So you can have a survey of numerous dams constructed across the northeast belt, and so. And we see that we have first we had a dam on this Pagladia Dam. You might have heard about. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're there. No? So we had a Pagladia Dam. It was proposed to construct in Thalkusi village in Nalbari. Okay, so you see that it was initially conceived of as a single purpose project. Basically, that dam was meant to detect the flood initially, and it came up in 1968. So you can actually relate this timeline. So it came up in 1968, and then after 20 years, and it was conceived of as a multi-purpose project. But the opposition against the dam has been carried out since the time that it was conceived of in that village, because it is going to submerge more than, I think, 3,000 families as per government estimate, 3,000 families, and 18,000, more than 18,000 people, and of 3,000 families. But in actuality, and in reality, it is going to submerge 38 villages, and in 38 villages that inhabited by that more than 5,000 families and more than 50,000 people will be affected by the dam. So this dam is important symbol of development. It is said, right? It is said that dam is a very important symbol of development. Again, the views related to this is polarized. Whether it is an important symbol of development, do you consider it is an important symbol of development? Views are polarized. So, and people first, if you look at this Pagladia Dam, people protested because it is an issue related to their livelihood. Okay, affected, their livelihood will be affected once the dam will be constructed, and it will affect the tribal community, and mostly it will affect the Boro community, because the submergence area, to be submerged area, fall under this BTC, and this is occupied mostly by demographically large community, Boro community in that region. And also it will affect that Raga community, Santhal community, Bengali community, they were inhabited in that area. Okay, and hence this could not materialize, and there was a huge uproar against this dam, Pagladia Dam. And that was one incident. Then we also have Siang Valley Dam, Siang Valley Basaw Andolan, that came up in 1984. And you see, later on that single project was modified to three different dams. So it was not in deference to protest, but in deference to modify the aim of government. And also we have dam in this is called Doyang and Tangani. Doyang Dam is also there in Wakha district in Nagaland. And part of it met the Gwalpara district, not Golaghat district of Assam. So that is also another issue which has created a lot of controversy. And then we have done some issues I may discuss. Tipaimukh Dam. Tipaimukh Dam is basically, you see, this came in Surashchandran district. Okay, Surashchandran district, and in the north southwest of Manipur, and it is actually joined on Tuivei River, and three state. Okay, it is three state, and in Nagaland, then Bangladesh, and then also we have Manipur. And you see, and Tipaimukh Dam has created a lot of hue and cry, and it has been and protest also. There are protests from Bangladesh, and because it is going to dry three rivers in Bangladesh, and Surma River, Kushira River, and Meghna River, on which livelihood of people is dependent. And Tipaimukh Dam, basically we say it is dam in Manipur, and it is going to generate 1,500 megawatt of electricity. And it is also going to affect basically that Har and Zeilangrong Naga community, that is communities of Nagaland. And they have created a kind of activism against it. You actually see that Hamar and Zeilangrong community, they have a very inalienable attachment with that land and the forest. Okay, so it is going to submerge 27,000 hectare of village of land, and there will be 90 affected village from this Tipaimukh. Okay, and you see that it has created hue and cry, because you say in Barak Valley it is going to submerge a waterfall that is called Ahu waterfall. I remember it right, I guess. So Ahu waterfall is going to submerge. Along with that, there are 5 lake which is going to submerge, and there is a place that is called, you say, Thiledam. That Thiledam river, actually that's a river island, and and that Zeilangrong community, they actually believe that their the soul usually flies after death to that island, and that island is going to be submerged once this Tipaimuk Dam will be constructed, and they that also lead to a opposition to the construction of dam, as it will submerge 90 villages. So 90 villages, so it will have a huge impact on this ecology. It is going to submerge 5 lakes, one waterfalls, which is quite intrinsic to their livelihood, to their identity, to their memory, to their history. So everything is associated, and hence they also feel that tribal communities inhabiting in that area, especially that Manipur, then Nagaland, they feel dispossessed. Okay, so that is one thing. There is another dam that is called Mapitel Dam. Okay, that Mapitel Dam, it is there in Taubal River, and it is in Udukhul district. Okay, it came in this 2018, and around 2000 hectare land was flooded after, it was investigated beforehand, and it was found that around 2000 hectare land was flooded, and that also raised huge controversy and hesitations, but it is also repressed by police, and police came in heavy-handed. Okay, and then we see that there are around 40 protesters. They encountered Indian Reserve Battalion in 2008. So that struggle against the dam continued for like 10 years, 20 years. In case of even Mapital, Tipaimuk, and Bagladia, so it continues. And also you see, and most of the time, the role of state government is such that without giving any publicity, they have sold land to even oil company, and even to a private company for construction of dam, and not even for drilling and extraction of oil. That is also another area related to development. So that will come later on. So you actually see that when we talk about this dam and Siang Valley, that Basawantulan, that is also one, as I have already told you. And it usually said that it is a symbol of development, as it will help the nation to earn revenue, help the nation to attract investment, right? But at the same time, we see that this dam will create a huge insecurity in the life of the people, because it cannot provide security, food security to people. It cannot provide livelihood security to people. So issue here in terms of construction of dam is environmental security versus development. So if the life of the affected project affected people can be secured, that they can be given food security, and their human rights can be respected, then there is no problem in construction of dam. But at the same time, it also leads to ecological depletions. So you cannot even ignore the fact that any kind of construction of dam will lead to huge ecological depletion. And also it lead to frequent flood. At times it is said that it will lead to water generations, it will lead to even power generation. So it is a storehouse of power, but at the same time it will also lead to frequent earthquake, and also lead to flood in the neighboring villages. So that is also another concern. So it is a concern related to environmental security versus development in the Northeast, and not in the Northeast, even in developing countries, even in India. So we see construction of dam has created a huge uproar across the nation. And I have told you that we are relatively new into this belt. And it is also said, as I have already told you, the views are polarized. It is said that the consequence of construction of dam in in uh, in Northeast is relatively insignificant because of sparse and scanty uh, habitation or habitation of population uh, compared to dam like Narmada Bacha Andolan. But there is a burgeoning of consciousness. There's a huge consciousness and reaction of the people of Northeast against the construction of dam that has actually reflected in various movements and activism, and that has also, you see, help government to, you say, at times delay the project. So there is actually, it has actually lead to a kind of as you say, crisis in confidence in governments. Okay, so that crisis of confidence in government. And then also you see one thing when you're talking about this dam, um, there are different stages when uh, that um, when dam is constructed. Like first there is a site selection, then there is also this is called PFR. This is uh, preliminary that feasibility report, which is to be prepared to look at the feasibility of construction of dam. And then there is also a detailed project report, okay, which is usually made after preliminary feasibility report is being made. And thereafter, after we make this detailed project report, we usually go for this environmental impact assessment, and at last there is public hearing. So there is a stage wise arrangement in construction of dam. So it is often alleged that uh, this kind of activities carrying out without having proper environmental impact assessment and public hearing. And during public hearing, which is usually carried out and you see conducted after this environmental impact assessment, um, the views of publics are usually manipulated, and most of the time their views, their consent is ignored, views are manipulated, and hence it it bolstered, it promoted this sector of activism around this dam. Okay, so that is one thing, and many a time it is also said it doesn't involve a legal process, doesn't adhere to the way clearance is being made, the environmental clearance. When you construct a dam, it is very important to have environmental clearance and clearance from different departments. If it going to affect the forest area, going to acquire the forest area, then definitely you need to have clearance from forest department. You need to have clearance from water ministry of that that water department, and also you see water board. Sorry, you need to have clearance from water board. But you see that most of the time it doesn't adhere to a proper legal process, and that is usually identified lapses in case of uh, construction of dam in this northeast belt. And it has affected the life of the people, because at the same time it has led to deforestations. And along with dam, we also see that the construction of railways, construction of roadways, definitely it will benefit the local people and inhabitants of that area. But in the long run, it has actually led to deforestations, and because of which there is also a protest and movement against the construction of railways and roadways. And especially we get to see, there is a case I have brought for you, and there's a Marangsiang village in Manipur, that is in Tamenglong district. there is a construction of railway to previously inaccessible areas, but it has led to desertification and deforestation of that areas that lead to huge protest by the people of Manipur. Okay, and most of the time that has also made the way for timber mafia to, you see, loot and plunder the timber from that area. So that is one issue. And regarding the oil, extractions, see, this happened to be another source of pollution. So as in the very beginning, we have discussed about pollution. So air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. These are different varieties of pollutions which we have experienced, right? And source of pollution is that you see this oil explorations, that drilling, blasting are source of pollution. So when we are talking about these oil explorations, there are cases like in Nagaland, in Wakha district, in Sempong and Kisori village, there is an oil explorations that carried out during 1973, even after there was activism, and then after 20 years, that exploration was taken over by Metropolitan Gas Company Private Limited. Okay, and that also created huge protest, but government managed that protest at times and by taking recourse to its military deployment and recourse to police repression, etc. And then you see in Manipur what happened in Tamenglong, as I have already told you. In Tamenglong, a road has been constructed, and in Tamenglong, Jubilean Oil and Gas Company, that was a Dutch company, in Tamenglong, Suracharan and Ziribam area, there is a huge exploration going on, and that has also created a huge uproar because you say the consent of local people is not taken most of the time while there is a oil explorations. And I have mentioned a few while ago that Manipur government, without any publicity, has already sold 4,000 square kilometer land to that private company, that Jubilant Oil and Gas Company. That has also created that activism among the people, that he was uproar among those people. And even if they did not give, that local people did not give any no objection certificates. At time they refused to give no objection certificate, which is required to carry out any kind of oil exploration, required to carry out any kind of blasting and to extract the resources, extract the oil. And even after that, even after non-acquisition of this NOCs, you actually see that exploration has been continued. And there is also a highway that is this highway, NH highway. This is Imphal Jiribam Imphal highway that was financed by Asian Development Bank. And this is apprehended that this will facilitate the oil companies basically to extract the resources, natural resources from the rich reserve of Northeast. Okay, and there is also a policy document. I'll simply mention about this policy document. One is that is Northeastern Hydrocarbon Vision 2030, and another one is Open Acrylics Licensing Policy, OALP. Okay, that also contain that no recognition is required from the community. There is no role of local people in regard to oil explorations, and it did not provide any recognition of community right. It simply said that oil company have exclusive right in deciding the identification of block without having proper bidding. So you see that has actually violation of the right of local people over their land, and it affect their livelihood also. And you see, and this plants and this exploration of oil and blasting, is further it leads to, you see, displacement. That is what that internally induced displacement. Uh, because you say it has generated fly acids that has contaminated this land, and made people, like, leave their land and also settle in a different place. Uh, that is all. Anything else you would like to ask? Satabdi, Sweta?
No, ma'am, I
No,
think
ma'am.
clear.
Okay. So you understood whatever I'm saying. So you also need some materials, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you might not have decided what you will do regarding the assignment. So will you go for this written assignment or this PowerPoint presentation? So today's
Ma'am, I
topic.
think the group is, they're not sure yet, but I think most of them are going for written
The
assignment.
written one. Yeah.
Written one, right? And whatever I have discussed with you today, you can take this into cognizance. So you can have some inputs from my lectures also. You can have further study. So whatever I have discussed some case studies with you, and there are innumerable number of cases, because as I've already told you, uh, I can never stop telling you about those cases. Innumerable number of cases are there. There are also cases related to, you see, recently I remember, again it came to my mind, this is called this, and Dibru Soikwa. Dibru Soikwa, that national park. And also there are cases related to, you see, Doyang and Tangani, Doyang-Tangani encroachment, you say that eviction. So that is also, that has created another kind of activism, environmental activism in Assam. And Doyang village is basically, it is belong to that Wakha district in Nagaland, and inhabited by almost more than, I think, 1.2 lakhs people. So Doyang villages. So it falls under Doyang Reserve Forest. Okay, and there is another village called Tengani village, nearby village. Tengani village was constructed during. It came up during 1835, during colonial era. And there are also Tongias. Tongias are permanent settlers. Tongias are called permanent settlers. In Doyang, there are not Tongias are temporary settlers. Sorry, in Doyang there are permanent settlers, and they usually settled in that Doyang village by 1905, when British search actually they brought them and settled those, those tribes there in Doyang village. And Doyang village is basically, when you talk about this Doyang village fall in Doyang Reserve Forest in Wakha district, and this also comprised a fringe village in that Doyang Reserve. So it's a fringe villages. Fringe villages do not have that much of benefit in terms of government schemes and programs. And you said Tangani village. When you're talking about Tangani village also inhabited by some permanent settlers brought during 1905 by Britishers. And also there are, there are Tongias in the sense they were temporary settlers. They came and encroached that village during 1960s. And they were basically, these Tongias were internally displaced person as a result of conflict, as a result of flood and soil erosions. they had to move and enclose the land, but officially they are allowed to stay there for 3 years. Okay, so that is a kind of settled forest, settled fringe villages and settled villages. Tongyas are settled villages, and other inhabitants are like permanent, except these Tongyas, they are permanent settlers. So but what happened is in Tangani villages, you see, initially that Tangani Panchayat was also constituted, school was constituted, uh, and villagers also got some, you say, a benefit from the government's schemes. But in 2002, eviction carried out. Okay, an eviction carried out in that village territories, which has created that uproar, or you say protest among the villagers, and they also came up with that Tangani, you say, Bihattar Tangani Unnayan Sangram Samiti. Okay, so that came up with the various demands in order to also, like, make like, the schemes and benefits of government's program avail that in order to avail the benefits of government program. And also they demanded, you see, uh, they they actually demanded the revenue status of their villages. Okay, so their village or fringe village, once it will become a revenue village, they will be capable of availing the benefits of government programs and schemes. And you see that internally displaced people are completely dispossessed, but most of the time they are the one who are, you see, urban migrants. They are the one bonded laborers. They are the one who are, you see, destitute, real destitute, because they had to leave the school. They had to get their children withdraw from the schools, because most of the time children became the, like, the sole earner from for the family. And there is also a kind of social disarticulations. It happens because of severe marginalization in this new land, and they do not have that kind of lifestyle. They had a lifestyle which they had to leave when they abandoned their place. They had to leave their place because of different like, different factors. It may be related to conflict, related to development, related to project, and related to soil erosion, flood, and their lifestyle has been changed. So there is a, like, problem called lifestyle deteriorations. So whenever they go, they could not sustain their lifestyle, and they are completely dispossessed. Their identity, their culture, their land uh, is no longer with them, and they're completely dispossessed, and that has been a cause of, you see, high rate of mortality and high morbidity factors. They are marginalized. They also suffer from that food insecurity. So all these are also related to land acquisition. When you're talking about this development related to dam, development related to oil extraction, establishment of factory, establishment of plant in different areas of Assam and Northeast, and that has actually led to internally displaced person. And these are also called project affected people. And there is not proper survey of project affected people. You could not get a proper data and proper statistics of project affected people. If you go for studying, like, drum, you could not get a proper data. And that has actually created a kind of conflicts and protest and mobilization again this kind of, you say, this kind of development. And also we see that it is related to land alienation. When we are talking about land alienation, you should know about this Land Acquisition Act. Until 2013, land acquisition is actually governed by, you say, act, governed by an act that was as old as um, 1894, I guess. So land acquisition was governed by an act enacted during colonial period, and Act of Land Acquisition Act of 1894 until 2013. And then Modi government has come up with new Land Acquisition Act, and accordingly this is not in support of the government. I'm telling you, some new clause has been included, and accordingly compensation of the landowner is also ensured, and also forbid the land which is, you see that multiple crop irrigated land, forbids the acquisition of multiple crop irrigated land, and giving proper compensation to landowners. And there are certain occasions, that land can be acquired, and it is also mentioned that there are 5 areas under which land could be acquired. Land could be acquired for PPP project. Land could be acquired for infrastructural development. Land could be acquired for housing, housing, better housing facilities. It also could be acquired for there are some areas that I'll come with this. So there are 5 areas that ordinance was basically come up in 2014, and accordingly, yeah, you see, they have ensured on certain occasions government can acquire land. And after actually 1950, and we see that we are moved into this high intensive development, high capital intensive and technology intensive development, and that has come actually after 1950, you see, and we are more into catching up the pace with the West, and for that we started believing more in high intensity, capital intensity development, for which we require more land. And hence we also see that there is a problem of land alienation came up once there is also a competitive market for investment, for more and more investment, and more you see at the same time investment and construction of dam, and also came up with this different kind of infrastructure project. So that is one thing. So I'll not go in detail because I have been, it's 2 o'clock now. You might not have any question. If you have any question, you can ask me. I'm going to stop here. So,
Ma'am, regarding the assignment, if you could just say this once again, like how to proceed and all that, because a lot of students are not present today. I think if you can
okay,
try.
each and everyone is not presented, so you'll discuss in the group. So the kind of assignment you want, as you said that you prefer a written assignment, right? So most of your fellow mates may not want a written assignment. They might want group assignment of presentation kind. So if we go for presentation, it will be a group assignment. Each of you will have to speak for 5 minutes, and I will decide the group. Divide you into group of 4 or group of 5. If you go for written assignment, then I will give you some theme and topic on which you can write, and you can also pitch an idea. You can come up with your own area of interest on which you can write. But as I have already told you that you are not that much into writing, because you have a media writing paper, but you are not yet yet instructed about how to write. But few of you might have developed that aptitude of writing, so you can write. You can write an article, You can write a term paper also. So mention there if it is an article, so your writing style will be different. If it is a feature article, it will be completely different. Definitely, it will not be a hard story. And if it is a term paper, then your treatment will be different. Short term paper of like 1000 or 1500 words, or if you write a feature article, then basically feature article comprise plus minus 600 word, but I'll tell you that it will have 100 words article. So you can decide the topic from the issues and aspects what I have discussed today on environment and development related problem in the Northeast. Okay, there are different dams constructed and activism around the dam and status of this dam that can be a source of your stories, and air pollution and also urbanization, industrialization. Uh, Effects of urbanization and industrialization can also give you a pitch, like an idea for a story. So another like an aspect, and then it is not entirely. Let me tell you, when you write a story, you don't have to make it relatable to the Indian and that mainland or problem related to other state, but you can also limit yourself to the specificity of Northeast. Okay, so one or two sentence you can give about how it can be relatable to uh, the problem in the mainland of Northeast, mainland like India, but you can also focus on the specificity of Northeast and focus on various developmental project which has been carried out, focus on kind of noise pollutions, even noise pollution, stories of noise pollution like blaring off like radio, TVs, there are numerous stories. So you can make a story on that. And also this noise pollution from this blasting, that can be a story. Suppose you see there is a permissible level of noise, so it should not cross beyond 80 decibel. So if noise level cross beyond 80 decibel, it will also lead to hearing impairment. If noise level will cross beyond 30 decibel for children, they will lose that mental composure. Okay, but you see in metropolitan city that permissible level is not maintained, and it often exceeds beyond that 80 decibel, and it also lead to 125, 129 in Chennai too. That noise pollution is so heavy that it turns to beyond 120 5, so and beyond, much beyond this permissible limit. So there are different kind of activities also during this puja festival, and you see any kind of festival, many times it also create noise pollutions. You can develop stories from your surroundings. Okay, uh, uh, from your locality. Okay, that can be another idea. So you can pitch an idea, and also related to air pollution, this vehicular pollution, that can be another bit for your story, and garbage may be another bit for your story, because how garbage are treated, how you define the garbage. Garbage is not simply the sewage, solid waste, right? So there are different kind of different types of garbage, like residues, ashes, and you see this that what this is called, roadside litters, even sweeping particles, and also the explosive and chemicals. You see this radioactive waste and chemical waste, other explosive waste, and also biomedical waste that also create a kind of garbage. So there has to have a proper disposal arrangement of the garbage, so that it can decompose. And you see how plastic is now, it is banned. Plastic is, I cannot say it is banned, but yeah, it is non biodegradable element. It remains with the soil. So you can develop some story out of it. So based on your interest. So better if it fall into this environment bit, development bit, autonomy bit, and self determination, right to self determination of tribal. So if it fall into these very aspects, so it can be much more relatable also, whatever I have discussed today. Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Understood?
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, what did you say the word limit for feature is? Feature article would be?
Feature article, the word limit will be usually feature article, the word limit for feature article is plus minus 600, but you will write plus minus 1000. Plus minus 1000, so 1000 will be the word limit.
Okay, ma'am.
1000 words. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you go for short stamp paper, then you will make it that 1500 words of 1500 words. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
I had a question.
Yeah, Samarth asked me.
I've texted in the chat box.
Okay, okay. Can the problem be out of Northeast? Can you tell me?
Like, ma'am, in Haryana and Punjab, there is this stubble farming which causes a lot of air pollution.
Oh, yeah, that can be. Yeah, that can be. But can you relate to Northeast is better also? You
I
belong to
can
which
I can
place?
draw a comparison with Northeast and Central India.
You belong to which place?
Ma'am, Madhya Pradesh, North India.
Oh, yeah, it will be fine. It will be fine. Yeah. It will be fine. You can relate, make it relatable. If it is not relatable, also you submit, and you don't have to worry about marks and all regarding this. It's all about content. So I will also give more importance to content. What is being written, how you have treated it. So your viewpoint, your opinion can also be incorporated in the story, whatever you write. Okay. It can be space and context specific. Context specific and your space specific, wherever you belong to, like place specific. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay then. Okay, we will disperse then, and I will not have a class in the next week. Okay, now regarding Northeast, and for this new media paper also, I'll discuss the assignment. As I have posted sufficient number of video lectures, we can have third test, or we can have a campaign. We can design an online campaign, but I really don't know how much. Whether it will be feasible for you to design an online campaign as we are in distant mode. Okay, so for that I need to take a few live classes, how to design a social media campaign. So that I will come later on, much be in the January. So in this very period, I might not have I might not take a class. I might take a class also, that might be very sudden decisions, but I'm uh, deciding that I may not able to take this class. So because I have huge work related to that checking of answer script and all. In between, I might also invite you for a small duration class. So that again that depends upon the load. Okay, okay then we disperse.
Ma'am, when is the submission date for this assignment?
Uh, See, you have the whole month of January. I'm deciding it right now, and I'm telling you right now so that you have sufficient amount of time. Okay, you don't have to go for copy pasting as you are sitting at home. So you can read, you can study. So by January 28 also you can submit the assignment. So this is basically the third assignment. You are not yet finished the second test. So we will have second test maybe in the first week of January. We will have a second test. for this paper, first week or maybe second week of January. So as far as deadline is concerned, I'm telling you that may be by 20th of January as of now, or I may extend it to 25th of January. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Then.